Welcome to NearPod in 30 Minutes, presented by your secondary academic technology team. In this lesson, our success criteria includes developing an understanding of how to build a simple, free NearPod lesson. We're going to look at the data that's collected inside of one of our NearPod lessons, and then we're going to show you how to launch and share a live or self-paced NearPod lesson with your students. Now, NearPod helps us achieve several instructional goals. First, assessment. This is a great tool with a lot of embedded features for gathering data quickly from your students. This can drive the instruction in the moment, or you can use the reports feature to look at data and make some instructional decisions. Also falls under innovative instruction. You can use NearPod in a live lesson or as part of a station rotation model to either reteach or enrich your instruction. Student engagement also increases if you use NearPod for one of these instructional goals. You can embed content in the presentation and then add those interactive elements to keep the kids engaged throughout the lesson. And finally, community building. There is a time to climb game, much like Kahoot or Blue inside of NearPod, creating some friendly competitions for your students. So let's get started. We are going to go to nearpod.com. You will find the teachers section and click login. You are going to use the Google option and sign in with your Google login credentials. So look for the Google button. When you click on that, it may ask you to select your Northside email and enter your login credentials. Once you get logged into NearPod, you will have your menu that runs along the left-hand side. You will have your dashboard in the center, and then your profile over here on the side. To begin, we are going to use the blue Create button to start creating our free NearPod lesson. When you click the Create option, you have three choices: a lesson, video, or Google Slides. A lesson is like a slideshow or a PowerPoint, but done inside of NearPod. A video is a lot like Edpuzzle. Now, you can use a video inside of a lesson as well. And the final option is Google Slides. That is a premium option. So if you're only using the free version, you will have the top two options only. We are going to start by building a lesson. So let's click Lesson. Once NearPod launches your dashboard for creating your lesson, you will have an untitled lesson here at the top. If you click on it, you will be able to add the name for your lesson. And then you have an option to add slides here or add slides and activities here. They do the exact same thing. This drop area will allow you to bring in downloaded PowerPoints into your NearPod lesson. So if you have a Google slideshow and you want to bring it in, you can download your Google slideshow as a PowerPoint and bring it in. So I will show you that really quickly to start with. Let's say that we want to bring in this slideshow to our NearPod lesson. I'm going to click the File. I'm going to go to the Download option, and I am going to select Download as a PPTX and click on that. That will download my PowerPoint to my computer. I'm going to return to my NearPod presentation, and I'm going to take this PowerPoint and I'm going to drag and drop it right into the center of the screen. And it's going to load my PowerPoint into my NearPod lesson, and I'll click OK. It's important to note that once you've uploaded this slideshow to NearPod, the PowerPoint and slideshow are no longer editable. The slides come in as images, so it will not have any interaction or animation like you may have set in your slideshow. So please take that into account as you are building these presentations in NearPod. Now, notice that the file is still processing. Depending on the size of your slideshow, it could take several minutes before your slides actually appear on your dashboard. You'll notice now it is starting to refresh and it's going to build my slides. So again, it drops my slides into my presentation. They are no longer editable. They are images of my slideshow. So if I need to change those out, I will just click on them, delete them, and then I have to re-download the presentation and bring it back in. So please note that. Let's now add some activities. I'm going to click on the plus button and show you the different options that you have. If you do not have slides already created for your presentation, you can create slides by clicking on the slide option under Content. So we have two tabs. Content is information that your students will work through, and then activities are items that your students will answer for you during the presentation. So let's click on content and let's add a slide just to show you the difference. If you do not have a slideshow already ready to upload, you can create your slideshow right here inside of NearPod. So you can create your title here. You have a layout option. Now you only have 4 options, unlike slides where you have a little bit more. You may only have 1 or 2 options. So I've changed the layout to have a title and 2 elements on the slide. This plus button allows me to add text, video, image, or a GIF. So let's search that and let's put cat and see what comes up. Okay. So you can add some simple images through a Google search. You can also upload images if you want. Okay. Click on the plus sign here. If I wanted to add text, I can add text. And there's very simple text editing tools here. So you're not going to have a lot of freedom here, just some simple editing options. And then here are your themes on the side if you want to add a theme. So that is a built-in option for adding slides to your presentation quickly and easily. And then you can also record audio to this slide if you need to read or have the slide read to the students, but we will also show you immersive reader. And then, of course, if you want to change your background, you do have a background option here. When you're done, you will click Save and Exit, and the slide will save directly inside of your NearPod presentation. Notice that the slide always will appear at the very end of your presentation. But if you want to move this around, you can simply drag and drop the slide in any order that you want. If you want to remove the slide, just make sure you have it selected and then click the Delete Slide, and it will remove the slide from the presentation. Let's take a look at activities now. Under activities, you have open-ended questions, time to climb, draw, several really great options for engaging your students in your lesson. You may want to start off with a quick poll question. A poll is a great way to have your kids tell you what they already know about a given topic. Type in your question here and then add your answer options below. Notice you will not have an option in poll to select a correct or incorrect answer because, again, you're just gathering the data from your students. Let's take a look over here on this side. If you're creating a live lesson, you may not want to add a timer, but if you know that your kids may need to have it paced out, you can actually add a timer and give your kids 15 seconds to answer this question before you will automatically move on to something else. This is also a great way to pace these self-paced lessons that you may be using in a station rotation model. You can also add resources to these poll questions. Let's say that you want to have the students access an image or an audio file or a video that then they answer this poll question with. You can click on that and you'll notice you have an image, an audio recorder, a PDF viewer, video, some more audio, and then web content. So there's all of these options that you can add as reference materials for students to access as they are going through the information. So let's say I want to add an image. I can either upload it, I can bring it in from Google Drive, or I can simply type in uh, what I want my students to be looking at. So my students will have the questions, they will have the answers to pick from, and they have a visual reference that they can use. You can also have them allow multiple responses here. So if there's more than one right answer, you can click on you can slide this on and allow them to select multiple answers. And then you'll click save. This is a very similar process for every single one of the activities that NearPod has. They have very similar properties. So if I want to start with a poll question, I may want to either move this right after the title and drop it in the order that I want my kids to see the poll question. Let's take a look at the next one. So again, we're always dropped into content. So if you wanted to add any of these, you could. One of my favorite content pieces is a virtual field trip. If we are studying a novel or a place, I can actually take my kids to that location and they can look around. So let's say I want them to go to the Golden Gate Bridge. I can preview that image and my students will be able to grab and look at this image. It's a 360 image that they can view and get a little bit of experience of where we're going and then maybe answer a question. So I'll click done here. It's going to drop the field trip in to my presentation. And again, I can just drag and drop it into the order I want my students to access that field trip. Let's click on activities again. Let's go back to activities, to the interactive pieces where students will actually add more or add an answer to. Let's create a matching pairs. Now, there's two activities here that look similar. There's a matching pair and there's a memory test. The memory test I don't often use because it is really like the straight up matching game where you match an apple to an apple or a pear to a pear. We don't use that very often, but they added the matching pairs, which is a lot like flashcards. You can have an image on one side, vocabulary on the other, and students can match up those different answers. So let's try that. That's a very popular and great way to engage your kids into the um, activity. Now, over here on the side, you may have some activities that are already done for you. So you can always add those matching pairs in. I'm going to just show you, though, how to add your own and build your own because most likely you have some academic vocabulary that you want your students to do. Match the image or definition to the correct word. Add a pair. So here I will put sky, and here I will search for an image of the sky and save. Add another pair. I think you have to add a minimum of 3 to 5 pairs to make this work. Green. And then you can also just do text and text. Sun, and then over here you could put yellow. So you can do text on both sides if you want, or you can use an image. And then when you have your pairs made, you click done. And you can preview this activity, add a timer as well. So I'm going to preview and show you how this works. The students will be given all the cards, they will be given the directions. They'll use this little caret to minimize that, and then they'll match. If they get it wrong, it will count it against them and not remove the cards from the deck until they get them right. And then it will say success. You had 4 tries to get this done. Got it. And then we will be able to move on to the next activity. Click save. All right. So, the final activity that we are going to look at today, remember, this is just getting started with NearPod. We're not going to cover everything that you see here, but we're going to next go to activities, and time to climb and quiz work very similar. So, quiz is your standard quiz where you can ask 10 questions and the 5, 10 questions, and the kids can navigate through it at the end of a lesson to see how well they learned the information, or you can create a Kahoot style game with time to climb. So let's start with that one because that is the most popular of the options with the students. We want to increase that engagement. So again, they'll have some time to climb options over here that are already pre-created depending on your um, version of Nearpod, whether it's free or paid, you may have access to more things. So here's your question. You'll type it in. If you want your answer choices to be text or images, this is very helpful for our math teachers who may want to have specific equations in there. So you will type your answers in. You can add as many answers as you want. I believe it's 4, so you can add more answer choices. Make sure you select the right answer because remember, this one is graded. So you want to make sure you have your question, your answer choice, and then if you want to add any reference material, they'll have 30 seconds, or you can change this if you want to answer the questions before they move on. And then you'll continue the process of adding more questions. So, question 1, now question 2. Add your answers. Make sure you select the correct answer and then continue the process. When you are done with the questions, you will click Save, and that will save your activity to your Nearpod lesson. Remember, using a time to climb or quiz at the end is really important because the students are going to be completing it kind of at their own pace. Now, time to climb, you can do just like Kahoot, you can run it live, everybody plays it together. But the quiz feature, I always recommend putting it at the end because the kids can take their time through the quiz and you want to make sure that they submit those answers. All right, so we have now built a Nearpod lesson that includes some slides. It includes 4 activities, and we are now going to share this with our students. So we need to click Save and Exit. When the assignment or the lesson has been saved, you have some options when you hover over it. We don't need the live and Zoom participation, only because you guys have already created your Zooms, so you don't need this option. All it does is create an additional Zoom for you, so you don't want that. If you're going to host this live with your students, you will create a live participation for each class. So you'll start one live participation for second period, close that at the end of second period. You'll relaunch another live participation for third period, close that one. Okay. And then you also have student paced, and this is what you would put inside of your Schoology or use for a station rotation inside of your classroom. And again, you would launch a new self paced activity for each classroom, a new code for them to use. So let's start with the live participation so you can see how that works. So you're going to click on live participation. It's going to launch the screen, and you have the option to have your kids go to joinnearpod.com and enter this code. Or you can copy the direct link and you can put it inside of the Zoom chat, or you can copy this link and put it inside of your Schoology assignment. Now, remember, the link is only active for live learning. Once you close this, the link will no longer be a valid link for students to be able to access. So let's see how students are going to join this live presentation. All right, I have two windows open. I have my teacher window open, and then I have a student window, a side by side, just to show you how the kids would be joining this. So we would direct them to go to that joinnearpod.com. So type in that. This is similar to Kahoot or Blue quizzes, where then they enter the code and then click join. And they'll be prompted to add their name. So you want to make sure that you tell kids that they should add their correct name to this lesson and then click join lesson. So the students do not have a navigation in here. They can't move around in this presentation because I'm actually controlling this as the teacher. Their slides will move as I move the presentation. So, notice that they can't go anywhere, they can't do anything, they can't get anywhere unless I have moved the presentation myself. So I'm going to click the next button, and this will start the activity for them. So I'm going to tell them, all right, students, you're getting ready to do a poll on your screen. You will see a question, click the answer, and then at the bottom of your screen, click the submit. So I'm going to hit the start activity. 3, 2, 1. You have 15 seconds. Go. So they're going to take a look. You'll notice here they can have the question read to them. This is Immersive Reader. And then tell them, don't forget to hit that submit. And then this is what they should see when they submit, but this is what you will see on your side of the screen. You're going to see the student's name and what their choices were. So you'll see on this side, if I am projecting this for my students, if I've launched this and I've decided I want to use the projector, I normally do not do this in class because I don't want kids seeing the student names. But if you want to go ahead and have this up, you can hide student names so you don't see it. But again, it's personal preference. I don't share this on the screen because the kids have their own screen going on their device. So they do not need to see this one because their version, they're seeing their screen like this. So they're able to go through the presentation together. All right. So let's go ahead and navigate to the next question so you can see what that looks like. Here's my slide. Notice on the teacher side, I get an annotation tool. So if I want to annotate on this, I can actually do that inside of the presentation. There's a highlighter tool as well if I want to highlight something on my screen. Anything I'm doing on my screen will then show up on the student devices. So again, no reason to have this projected because the students are watching me on their devices. Let's go to the next activity. Here is that VR experience. The students will be able to look, drag the image around. Go to the next activity. Next activity. And then here's the matching game. They can have the directions read to them. And they just click on the directions to move it out of the way. And then again, they complete the activity and it will show me on the teacher side how many times the student tried to get this right. So they got all 3 matches the first time, so I could technically give them some mastery grade here if I wanted to. And then we're going to move on to our final activity, which is time to climb. Now, unfortunately, I'm the only one in here right now, so you might not be able to see everything. but you have three time to climb options: underwater, space, Himalaya. So you can click on the theme, hit continue. The students will be able to click their character and they hit start. Now they're going to wait, just like in a Kahoot game. We're going to wait for all of our characters. This is what they're seeing on their screen. I'm seeing this on my screen, and then I will click start, and it will allow them to start playing the game together and competing with each other, just like they do in any other Kahoot style game. All right. So I am going to go ahead and come back over here to the teacher side. When I am done with this activity, I'm going to go ahead up here and click the back button to stop the activity. It says, "Are you sure you want to leave?" Yes. So we're just going to click yes. It's going to bounce us back into our NearPod dashboard. First period is over. I am ready to start my lesson for second period. I'm going to repeat the process with a new live learning link, and I'm going to launch a new live lesson for second period, and then repeat the process to have my students join. The same thing is true with student paced. If you click on that, this will be your self-paced activity. I always like to require submissions so students cannot skip activities, that they have to answer it. And then how long will this activity be available? And then I can create the link, copy this link, and add it into my Schoology classroom. And there will be a link at the end of this inside of the form that will direct you to the click sheet for using NearPod inside of Schoology if you have a paid version. So this is the free version. So the way that you will share this is just sending the link to the students in Schoology. But for the paid version, there is a click sheet available to embed this inside of Schoology. So let's go ahead and X out of this. Now, again, we talked about data. So your data is going to live in your reports. If you click on your report section from your NearPod dashboard, you will find all of your reports here in the reports dashboard. So here's my NearPod lesson. I will click on it. Now, the sessions are named by the date and the time, so you can actually edit those and call this first period, unit 1, so that you know what unit, what day, what period this lesson was launched. And when you click on it, it'll tell you how many students. But I will be able to see everything that the students did, from the poll questions to the matching to participation. And then I can look at individual questions up here as well. And then there's also an option to download the full report. So lots of data is being captured in the background. All of this is free in the NearPod version. There is a storage limit. So you may have to delete old lessons that you don't need in order to continue using NearPod. But I believe you can save around 10 to 20 lessons at a time. And then, of course, you'll start to clean up your dashboard as you move through this. All right, guys, so let's kind of take a look at our success criteria and see how well we did today. So hopefully you developed an understanding of how to build a simple NearPod lesson. You can go back, pause the video, and go through this again at any time. We learned how to find and review data during and after a NearPod lesson. And then we learned how to launch and share lessons, either for live or self-paced. And again, do not forget that NearPod meets these 4 instructional goals. Depending on how you want to use NearPod, you will be able to use it for assessment, innovative instruction, student engagement, or community building. Thank you so much for joining us today, and have some fun creating NearPods.